And action!
Producer named Tracy Becker had basically been a friend of mine for a long time, looking for something to work with her on, and she said, I have this great idea. And so when she said to me, it's a movie about the invention of the vibrator in Victorian England, I laughed. And then I said, but really, what's it about?
Beyond that, it's a love story. It's a story about progressives, about people who are inventing.
It makes your hand feel all warm and tingly. I feel it right down to the bone.
Oh, really?
Turn it back on.
As was the case in the 1880s, women diagnosed with quote-unquote hysteria, which is a very broad diagnosis, were being treated by, how to put it, manual relief. They were being given orgasms, but they didn't call them that because they didn't know or at least recognize or admit that that's what they were. It was paroxysms, and it was a release of nervous energy and a stimulation of the nervous system.
Hysteria was a real diagnosis, but it meant it was kind of applied to everything that was wrong with women.
I can assure you that women enjoy physical pleasure just as much as men, even if it can be hard to come by.
Physical pleasure has nothing to do with it. It is strictly a medical treatment that stimulates the nervous system.
Indeed it does, and it's a bargain, it's a guinea.
When you first read it, you know, there's a moment when you think, can we actually make this film? Is it, you know, is it going to work?
I really enjoyed the script when I read it. I think anybody you tell about this film, particularly women, just crack a smile.
Once I settled into it and got past the initial idea, the shock of the idea, I found it a really well-written script, and it's not just about the vibrator.
You don't really talk about women's sexuality and their sensuality and orgasms all that much. And I think it will be kind of funny and hot, all the things it should be.
What do you call that little thing?
Well, I was calling it the feather duster.
Think of something quick so the girl knows what to ask for.
Molly is an ex-prostitute, and but is now a maid and is working in the house where the vibrator.
God, I'm so sorry, it makes me laugh when I speak about it. My dad's gonna watch this.
But yeah, so now she's a maid, and then when it comes about that the vibrator is invented, Molly is the first person that they think of to use it because she's a fun-time girl.
Pardon me.
That's quite all right, handsome.
He's a guy who considers himself to be at the cutting edge of medical science in that he believes in germ theory. I mean, pretty simple stuff, but it's enough to have got him thrown out of several jobs. And actually, when we meet him, we see him being thrown out of a job, and for him that's the last straw. It's happened too many times, so he decides, you know what, enough of this idealism. I'll take the first steady paying job I can get my hands on, which turns out to be with Jonathan Pryce.
He's a sincere medical man, and I'm doing my job. And at the same time, making a lot of money. I become very successful. And that's how I then have to take on a younger doctor, and that proceeds to the need for the invention of a mechanical apparatus.
Edmund is an aristocratic inventor, is in the process of inventing this electric feather duster. And it's in this way that they come across the idea of the vibrator.
Well, that's what I call good steady pressure. To go any higher?
He feels a lot like those kind of 30s, 40s romantic comedies, especially because, you know, in some ways, like the fire of the movie comes from the woman.
It must be difficult pleasuring half the women in the city.
Madam, pleasure has nothing to do with it, I can assure you.
Well, I suppose that depends on whether you're over the table or on it.
Charlotte is a firebrand and a suffragette and a believer in the women's movement and women's rights. And initially I'm kind of horrified by her, and ultimately, of course, I'm more drawn to her.
Apart from the very funny idea, there's also some theme that's much deeper, you know, which is about suffrage and feminism and this constant struggle between men and women.
It's about women's rights, and it's about women's sexual gratification. So I think to have women at the helm is probably quite helpful.
The beauty of the script is that what you're expecting, what is set up, is a traditional costume drama with all its usual generic identifications. And then you gradually realise that something very different is going on.
It's really a wonderful romantic story that has this kind of strange, funny hook to it.
What attracted me to the script is that there are so many answers. It's a romantic comedy, it's true. It's a costume drama, it's true. There's also something, I think, quite contemporary and lively and fun about it, so you can kind of pick and choose.
I'm but a simple doctor. I have no ambition for notoriety.
Whether you seek it or not, Dr. Granville, you are destined for fame.